You guys that are new into real estate wholesaling, you don't know what real estate wholesaling is. In a nutshell, breakdown. What is it? What is real estate wholesaling?
So real estate wholesale is just the concept of going out finding homeowners who happen to have maybe a distressed property that they're looking for, or like they need to sell. Maybe they have a problem that they're going through. And basically,
guys, all you're doing is you're selling a piece of paper, which is just a contract.
Right.
You're not the one closing on the property. You're not the one bringing the money to close on these properties. You're just putting them under contract. Every single transaction that you're going to do is a puzzle. Like every deal you're going to close, you're going to make a different fee. Right, so sometimes you make $10,000, sometimes you make $5,000, sometimes you make $2,000, sometimes you make $100,000. In January, we closed on one single, actually 2 deals back to back.
Right.
One was $100K.
Right. Boom.
We're live with the Boom Squad, guys. Boom, guys. Hey, guys. Welcome to the Boom Effect Podcast. I'm your host, Mamadou Diallo, and I'm here with my guy,
Killer Closer, Stephen Blow.
Stephen Blow himself, guys. Only, 22 years old?
Yeah, 22 years
22 years old, crushing it in real estate, wholesaling, and investing in general, guys. But before we even kick it off, guys, remember, we do this podcast every single Monday at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time. So we're on Spotify. You can also find the episode on YouTube. All right, so make sure you check it out. And the BOOM stands for being bold and brave, being obsessed, being optimistic, and having that abundance mindset. And, guys, this is a lifestyle. And if you want to crush it in any realm in life, you gotta have these 4 attributes combined, and that's where the boom comes from. So Boom Squad, we're here in the Georgia market. We have an office here in College Park, crushing it.
Yep.
Closing deals, helping newbies, changing young people's lives, right? We have what is our youngest person working on the team?
I think our youngest person is like 18. That's Daniel.
That's crazy, guys. Crushing it. Yeah. So today's episode, guys, though, is about cash buyers.
Right.
We're going to break down what a cash buyer is. Steve handles everything that has to do with disposition on our team. So he sells a contract. So once we go out and hunt, once the acquisition people put properties under contract. So for those of you guys that, are new into real estate wholesaling, you don't know what real estate wholesaling is. In a nutshell, breakdown, what is it? What is real estate wholesaling?
So real estate wholesale is just the concept of going out, finding homeowners who happen to have maybe a distressed property that they're looking for, or like they need to sell. Maybe they have a problem that they're going through. And basically, we're just a solutionist to those problems. So we're going out, talking to those people. Hey, listen, if you're going through divorce, maybe high grass, tall grass in the yard, maybe it's a vacant property, maybe they're going through some type of situation. We're just trying to provide a solution to that.
So you put them under contract, and then what?
We put them under contract, and then what we're going to do is finding somebody that can actually purchase these properties, which is quote unquote your cash buyers.
Right.
These are people that actually flip properties on HGTV, those nicer homes that you see, and pretty much buy the homes from them.
So basically, guys, all you're doing is you're selling a piece of paper, which is just a contract.
Right.
You're not the one closing on the property. You're not the one bringing the money to close on these properties. You're just putting them under contract. And yes, you're finding sellers that have problems. This is why we advise every single newbie, if you're just getting started, to go after the government lists. Can you break down what that means, the government list, these lists that are already the sellers are already even motivated before you even call them?
Yeah, 100%. So these lists that you guys can pull from county, so they're code violation lists. These are people that basically may have tall grass and they haven't got them cut. You can also pull certain things like the pre-foreclosure list. That's an amazing list.
Right.
Everybody likes to target that. Water shutoff is a huge one.
That one is great. That one is fantastic.
Yeah, super difficult to get, but amazing.
Yep.
So these are a couple lists that you guys can actually go through and go pull from the county completely for free.
Right.
Go to people.
So that's what we mean by government lists, guys. Is lists basically that are being published online. So let's say pre-foreclosures. Let's take pre-foreclosures, for example, which we love going after pre-foreclosures. These are sellers that are behind on their mortgage and the bank is about to take their home, right? So they have to do something. And what you're trying to do is to catch them at that phase right before the property goes to auction, and then help them either stop the auction, postpone it, whatever, and then as a result you get the property under contract, and then you can wholesale it. Now the act of wholesaling, guys, is basically just selling the contract to either one, a fix and flipper, somebody who will buy the house and renovate it and put it back on the market for a profit, or a buy and hold investor. And every single transaction that you're going to do is a puzzle. Like every deal you're gonna close, you're gonna make a different fee. right? So sometimes you make 10,000, sometimes you make 5,000, sometimes you make $2,000, sometimes you make $100,000. In January, we closed on one single, actually 2 deals back to back.
Right.
One was 100K,
Right.
and then the other one was 58,000, and then we just closed a deal Friday.
Yeah.
How much was it?
That was a $16,000,
That was-
$10,000 deal.
It was a $10,000 deal, and then we
$10,000.
just closed the smallest one. How much?
$2,000.
We made $2,000 on a deal. That's the beauty about it. But if you're just getting started in your journey of wholesaling and you're like, you know what, I want to get into real estate wholesaling because I don't have the money, I don't have the license, I don't have the sales background, and I want to build up my capital to become a real estate investor. That's typically, the avatar of the people that start with wholesaling. Well, guess what? Going after this kind of lists and getting your first deal as the proof of concept is more important to me than the check that you make.
100%.
Right.
Yeah.
So the most important thing, though, once you get this under contract, is the disposition.
100%.
Break down to them what disposition means.
So disposition is the act of going out. You want to find a bunch of different buyers that can pick up these properties. A lot of times with wholesalers, generally when they actually get into these deals, a lot of times they don't have experience talking to these buyers that are actually purchasing these properties.
Right.
So again, this is super key, you guys, because the thing is, if you find a deal, you have to be able to sell the deal.
Absolutely.
If you can't sell the deal,
Absolutely. That's where the money comes in. So you can get contracts all day long, but if you cannot sell the contract, then it's worthless, right? So that check only hits your account if you can sell the contract. So number one, obviously make sure you're good with your numbers
100%.
before you put the properties on the contract. But break down to them what is a cash buyer? 2, how do you make sure you're dealing with legit cash buyers?
Okay, yeah. So a cash buyer is somebody that maybe they go out and go flip homes. Typically, these guys are. You can find it's a bunch of different cash
Do
buyers.
they have their own money, or do they
Yeah,
like,
they
what is-
typically have their own money, so they either have cash in hand in the bank, or sometimes these guys go out and take out something called a hard money loan,
Got it.
right? And these is just institutional loans for investment properties.
Got it.
So-
Where do you find legit cash buyers? Like, how do you know you're dealing with cash buyers?
Well, some
Like, how do you market? So I get a contract. So boom, let's go through a scenario.
right,
So I get a contract. Here I have a contract, and now I don't know what to do.
right.
Where do I go from here to find somebody to buy my contract?
100%. So the most basic way of finding them, which everybody is pretty used to, is the Facebook route, right?
Got it.
So you can actually take that property and advertise it on Facebook.
Okay.
A lot of times these guys are on Facebook all day scouting for deals. I've actually met some great cash buyers on there myself.
Okay.
One of my first deals was actually wholesale through a Facebook.
Through a Facebook. I have done it too.
Really?
Now, how are you careful on Facebook though? Because I found there's a lot of wholesalers on Facebook as well. But how do you vet these people to make sure it's not a wholesaler that is acting like a buyer,
Right.
and then take your contract and then daisy chain it?
Right.
First of all, break down to the newbies what daisy chaining means.
Right. So daisy chaining is when you actually have a contract, a property under contract with a homeowner, and you're going to look for a buyer. And then you have somebody posing as a buyer that's actually another wholesaler
Right.
that has a buyer's list.
Right.
These guys typically don't have a buyer's list. They're just gonna take your deal and remarket it on Facebook.
Yeah.
And try
So
to
they're
find
basically gonna shop it around.
All right.
Now, to me, guys, real estate being a sport game, right? Meaning like you need a team, right? So we've closed deals where we didn't have buyers in that area.
Right.
And we had to, do what we call a joint venture, basically with a wholesaler that have buyers, and then split the fee. Here's the thing that I hate is if you're a wholesaler and then you pretend to be a buyer, you can just be straightforward honest. If you're on Facebook and somebody posts a deal, they cannot find a buyer and they need help, why not just go, hey, Mamadou, I have a buyer. I'm not the buyer, but I do have a buyer. And obviously you need to get paid for bringing a buyer, but why not just be honest instead of acting like you're the buyer, you take the contract, now you start shopping my contract around on Facebook and what is this other site?
Facebook,
Craigslist, right?
Yeah.
Like just be straightforward, honest. Because if you bring the buyer, you deserve to be paid. But what happens is one wholesaler will act like they're the buyer, then they take your deal, they don't have a buyer, then they shop it to other wholesalers, then that other wholesaler shop it to another wholesaler. By the time you know it, you have 10 different people marketing your contract. What happens also if the seller realizes that, now you lose your contract.
No, 100%.
Because the seller is like, yo, I just saw my property on freaking Craigslist. What is my property doing on Craigslist?
100%.
Right? That's why you want to make sure you're dealing with, legit cash buyers. So what would you say some of the top 3? So first let's go through the resources. So one is Facebook, right?
Yep.
What with Facebook, make sure you vet them.
Right.
Number 2 way to find cash buyers.
You can actually find a lot of these cash buyers from bandit signs in your local market. Those We Buy Houses signs, they are great places to find cash buyers. These are big companies that are buying houses all the time.
Okay.
We Buy Houses signs, like so the bandit signs that you might see when you're driving out.
Oh yeah, guys, yes.
Like, come on.
Bandit signs. If you're just driving and you see bandit signs that says for rent, for example, that's a landlord.
100%.
That's somebody who owns buy and hold properties. Take down the number, give them a call, and say, "Hey, are you looking for more properties to put into a portfolio?" That's what it means by bandit signs. Those signs that you guys see, for rent, for example. I personally wouldn't call the ones that We Buy Houses cash, because typically those are wholesalers.
Yeah, 100%.
Right, I wouldn't call those, but I would definitely call the ones for rent, for sure, because that's a landlord, right? Okay, so that's the number 2 way. Number three way, like in terms of the paid, platforms.
Yeah, so we can also go PropStream and InvestorLift. InvestorLift is a little bit more on the pricey side, but PropStream is another way. If you get a property and you can literally go to PropStream, hone in on that property address, and you can actually find cash buyers within a 5-mile radius. Just call every cash buyer.
Guys, I would use PropStream all day long. Forget about whatever else you said. PropStream is probably the best one to use. PropStream is a one-stop shop, guys. PropStream, you can go and you can find motivated sellers. You can not only find motivated sellers, you can comp properties. Not only you can comp properties, way easier to comp than any other platform. And then on top of that, you can pull cash buyers list, right? So you go in, basically, you pull a list in your local area of people that maybe bought from 3 to 5 properties within the last maybe year or 2 or whatever. But on average, you want to look for people, right, that have at least 3 to 5 properties. That means the person is buying. And then you want to give these people a call. The same way you call the sellers and have a conversation with them to put them under contract. Like how many, because do you call cash buyers?
Yeah, I do call.
What does that conversation look like?
So, I mean, it's pretty simple. The main thing I'm going to ask them, hey, listen, I have a property in the area that you may be interested in. And typically when you reach out to them, you actually want to reach out with a property in hand. It kind of opens up the conversation a little bit. So I'm like, hey, listen, I have a property around the corner from a property you just bought maybe a year ago. Hey, are you still in the market for buying?
Right.
And a lot of times, again, you open up the conversation and just start it from there. And then I'm also asking them, like, hey, listen, how many properties are you taking down a month? This is how we actually vet the cash buyer and make sure they're actually closing deals.
Right. Okay. Pause right. Andrew, we can hear you here, bro. All right. Where you left off? Sorry, guys. We're live on a podcast.
No, you're fine. So when you're talking of cash buyers, again,
the conversation.
Yeah, the conversation. Pretty.
Because I know a lot of people are afraid to call cash buyers because they think these people are scared. Yeah. I mean, not scary, like, but like they don't deserve that. They wouldn't talk to them. I remember having that fear when I was beginning. I'm like, shit, I don't know anything. I'm gonna call this person. He has so much money. I don't know. Like, is he really gonna talk to me? Like, but guys, they want your business.
Right.
A cash buyer is too busy, one, dealing with construction crews, dealing with toilet leaks if they own buy and holds. They don't have the time to go and hunt for deals the way you do. That's where you come into play. They actually want you to call them and sell them properties. What most cash buyers hate is the wholesalers that actually start,
right,
and then they don't know their numbers, and they just go out and put any kind of properties under contract with any kind of numbers, and they flood their emails with junk, meaning like deals that don't make sense.
Right.
That will end up getting you blocked. So, but if you call them like out of the blue, like give us an example. Like, okay, you calling me and you have a 123 Main Street under contract. What does that look like?
Oh, so it's beautiful. So, hey, John, ring.
Ring.
Yeah, hey, John, how you doing? My name is Steve. I'm actually giving you a call because I actually see that you bought a property on 123 Main Street, which is not too far from a property I actually have at 123 Main Street. So, hey, listen, we actually got this one at a super steep discount. I see that you bought this one on 123 Main Street at 130. I actually have this one at 110. Is there something you may be interested in taking a look at?
Boom. I guarantee you guys 99.9% of the time, they will say yes. Plus, I found with cash buyers, on average, if you call between 4 to 7, you will get at least 2 that are super legit, super like they love it. They want to talk to you. They build a relationship with you. They, even if you're on the newer side, they educate you like, hey, great, thank you. Keep them coming and watch out for this, watch out for that. They literally you can find local mentors like that of somebody that have a whole portfolio because you called them out of the blue.
Oh,
I
for
found
sure.
that out of 7. So that's one. So guys, this position you're gonna have to use multiple different resources. Typically, when you put a property under contract, Steve, like if you're wholesaling it, right?
Right.
How many days do you have to find a buyer on average?
So this varies, but for me, if I don't have something hot within the first 5 to 7 days, I typically start to look at the property and say, hey, maybe this might be something we have to renegotiate.
Right.
Yeah.
But how many days you legally have on the contract on average nationwide?
No, nationwide, about 14 days.
About 14 days, guys.
14
I would even say about 10. Most contracts, your inspection. So if you guys don't know, when you put a property under contract with a motivated seller or even an agent, doesn't matter, you have what we call the inspection period. This is where you do your due diligence, right? So like the due diligence is one, you send your buyers in, right, to walk it. But you also like market it. You market it to find your buyer, to line up your buyer, to make sure that you actually have a buyer. Now, that 14 days, what that does is when you put a property under contract, what legitimizes your contract is basically what we call earnest money, right?
Right.
You have to put some money down for your contract to be legally enforceable. So it doesn't matter if it's $100. You have to put something down. So under contract, you typically will see there is always a clause that says earnest money. For all of you that are starting, I'm going to put a link in the description below for you guys to have our wholesaling free purchase and sale agreement. So now, if you don't put any money down, guys, your contract is not legal. It's not legit.
No, not
right?
at all.
But once you do that, now you have 10 days to basically market the property. That's your due diligence period. Within that 10 days, if you don't perform, what is performing is finding the cash buyer.
Right.
And then the cash buyer saying, hey, I commit. I'm going to buy 123 Main Street from you. You can send me what we call an assignment contract, right? This is where you assign your rights to that contract that you just locked up. So it's two pieces of contracts that you need. One is the purchase and sale agreement, you and the seller. Two is the assignment agreement with the buyer.
Right.
So within that 10 days, guys, if you market it, if you truly, I'm talking about genuinely, truly marketing. It's not like posting it one time on Facebook and then that's it. That's not marketing. You haven't marketed the contract enough.
Right.
It is putting it on Facebook, is cold calling the cash buyers, is heavily marketing it. Like you've done everything you can. Every single day you're sitting there calling, marketing it, putting it on whichever platforms you can. And then there's nobody responding. Or maybe cash buyers are telling you like you're out of your mind, right? The numbers are off. Okay, at that point, you probably don't have a deal.
Nah, you most definitely don't have a deal.
What should you do at that point?
So for me, what I'm doing is we actually have a pretty big team. So we're gonna send it back to the acquisitions. Hey, listen, we actually are not getting any traction on this. We might have to renegotiate with the seller. What I always try to do for you guys, always try to leave with a number from the cash buyer. Hey, listen, I understand this might not be a good price.
Yeah.
Where would you guys actually buy this at?
Right.
What price would you need this at to make it make sense for you? Now you have something to actually go back and negotiate with the seller.
Boom, guys. So let's say you lock up a deal at 110, and then you market it to your cash buyer at $120,000. So that means you're trying to make the difference, obviously, which is $10,000, right? So and then you send it to your buyer, and your buyer is like, "Man, you're out of your mind. This is too high." Instead of just going, "Oh, okay, sorry." No, hey, okay, John. Like what number would make this a deal for you? And I'll go back and negotiate it and bring it back on for you on the plate. Like what is the number? Oh, I'll buy this at 90 grand all day. I've sold properties like that. I'll buy this at 90 grand. Great. I go back to the seller and renegotiate at 85 or 80. Hey, I'm so sorry. We did our due diligence. There's way more renovations that I thought. My bad. I made the mistake. Sorry, but we're going to have to go down on price. Otherwise, we're going to have to walk away from this contract. Boom. You talk them down on price to $80,000, and then you send back the assignment to John at 90 grand. Right? But your due diligence period, if you pass it and you don't go back and renegotiate or cancel your contract, guys, you lose your earnest money in most markets. That means if you put down $100 or you put down 1,000 or 5,000, doesn't matter. It depends how good of a negotiator you are. You actually lose it, right?
Yeah,
if you don't perform within the 10-day inspection.
Yes, you're gonna lose your EMD money, and this is why I always tell the newbie wholesalers, hey, listen, go out, vet the people that you're actually dealing with beforehand. Sometimes it's even better to go find a cash buyer before you even find the deal, so you know exactly what they're looking for.
Right. So let's say you have a good deal.
Yeah.
Let's say you have a good deal. There's a bunch of cash buyer reaching out. Like let's say 4. I want the deal. What does that look like to have them walk the property? What do they have to pay attention to? how do you organize that walkthrough to have the buyers? Like, how do you do it?
Beautiful. So typically what we do is we have our acquisition team reach back out to the seller to set up a certain day.
Okay.
And then what we do is we try to get a certain time frame, maybe 1 to 2 hours, so we can get everybody in. We might throw the seller $100. I actually got that from you, Mamadou, to actually go out to dinner.
Yeah.
And then from there, you guys.
Why don't you want the seller to be present on the day of?
Great
the
question.
walkthrough?
So you never want the seller to be present because a lot of times we have seen where buyers will actually go try to talk to your seller and go steal the deal from you.
Yeah.
I've actually had it happen before.
Yeah.
It's the worst feeling in the
Me
world.
too. When I was new,
Really?
I had to get aggressive with one of the buyers. I went to this appointment. There was the seller, his son, and then the buyer. And the buyer came in front of the door. I told him, "Hey, you can just go walk." And he shook my seller's hand and he started talking. And I was like, I went all in. I was like, bro, we're not doing this.
Right.
You're not talking to him. He doesn't know you. Remember what I told you when you come here, you're coming with me. Don't talk to him. I negotiated with him. You go ahead and walk the property.
Okay.
I was like, yeah. The seller didn't even know what was happening.
Right.
I was like, no, listen. Sometimes the team members, they don't listen. Like sometimes you gotta check him. So boom, then he went and walked the property. Like, fuck out of here. So that's the reason why, guys, if you can avoid, like he said, this is a huge nugget. Like, slow down this nugget for people. Okay. So Steve is saying, I have a deal.
Right.
I put it out. I have a lot of interest. I'm going to do a walkthrough on one day. I'm going to bring all my buyers, which is it's kind of hard right now since COVID to bring everybody, but you still can. So what you're saying is basically to tell the seller, hey, for the time, this is if it's an owner occupied property,
Right.
For the time that we're going to inspect the property with my partners, I'm going to give you $100, dinner on me. You go have lunch or dinner. So they're out to go out, right? That's what you mean.
Yeah, go ahead and go out.
Okay, so that only you and so do you arrive before your cash buyers?
Always. I'm always arriving at least 20 to 30 minutes before he arrived.
Yeah.
I've actually seen cash buyers arrive an hour before me
Yeah.
to try to talk to the seller. It's crazy.
Yeah. So and then when they come in, they just walk it, look at it, take their pictures, whatever they need, and then from there, they get back to you afterwards.
Yeah, right. So I mean, I preset expectations before they walk. So I'm like, hey, listen, go in. If I do have a seller and I'm not able to get them out for lunch, hey, you guys, listen, you guys are my financial partners.
Right.
Don't say anything to the seller.
Right.
Go in, look at the roof, take your pictures. We'll get everybody in 20, 30 minutes, have you out. And then after we leave the property, hey, listen, when can I expect to hear something from you in regards to pricing and where you would need to be to make this an actual deal, right?
Boom.
And then,
So, guys, if you have 4 people wanting to walk it, that's probably a deal, right? So what you want to do is get the best and highest offer in.
Always.
Don't accept the first offer that come in. On a deal that is really good and buyers, like another nugget that I have for you newbies, don't get married to any cash buyer. Like treat your cash buyers well, treat them as VIPs, especially the ones that always buy from you. But what I mean is don't get married to only one cash buyer. I promise you will lose money. They will start taking advantage of you. If you only sell it to one person, they'll start like talking you out of some of your fees. Like you're supposed to make 10. Now they're like, oh, you know what, it's super tight. Can you just take 3? Don't do that. It's a bunch of cash buyers. Always have competition on the good deals that you have. Have more than 4 buyers wanting the deal, and then highest and best offer. Because remember, never be apologetic about the fees you're making as a wholesaler, as long as the deal works for the cash buyer, right? Like obviously, you need to know your numbers. But if the deal works for them, your assignment fees should never bother a cash buyer. Why? Because most cash buyers, the reason they're buying the deals from you is because they don't know how to go hunt and negotiate these sellers, put out the marketing, put them under contract, and do all of that. They don't know how to do it.
Right.
If they knew, they would find their own deals. So like you as a wholesaler, one of the questions that I highly, highly advise you ask your buyer is, are you okay with me making money on the deal? Are you okay with me wholesaling? Are you okay with me making a fee, whatever fee I make, as long as the numbers work for you based on your exit strategy? If they're not okay with this, guys, give them the middle finger and walk away. You don't have to work with them. There's a bunch of cash buyers. Do you agree?
Yeah, I agree. And I was just about to piggyback off your point. One of the biggest things I asked my cash buyers just to even crack the ice a little bit. Hey, listen, if I was making $1 million on this deal and the numbers look good for you, are you okay with me making an assignment? You know?
Period. Right? Guys, that's it. As a wholesaler, you are literally adding value to 2 parties. Number one is the seller, because most sellers you're going to get a contract. Actually, 100% of the sellers you're going to get a contract with to wholesale. Guess what? They have a problem they're going through that you have to solve.
Right.
Right? So that's number one. And then number 2, you're bringing an opportunity to an end buyer who without you couldn't go out and find these deals at a steep discount. They don't have time to put out the marketing. They're too busy with their construction crews, or they don't even know how. Most real legit cash buyers, guys, don't even know how to negotiate with sellers. They go out to the auction and buy properties, or they buy it on the MLS. Like, they're too busy with their business model, fixing, flipping, buying the rentals, da 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 da. They don't have time for this. You, the wholesalers, they need you. So you're solving problems for two people, and you're out to get paid for solving problems.
Boom.
Right?
Big bucks.
So what last word do you have for newbies that are starting out?
So for the newbies that are starting out, don't be afraid to take action. And these investors that you guys are super scared to talk to, they're just regular people. Just go out and have a conversation with them. They do not mind you guys getting paid. Trust me.
100%. Yeah. Guys, where do they find you?
Find me on Instagram at _StephenBlow_. I'm also on Twitter and TikTok as well at _StephenBlow_.
Boom. Guys, we're here local in Georgia. If you're in Georgia, we love to work with you. You can DM Steve. He will give you the link to join venture with us. Check us out, on all platforms. You can DM me on Instagram at Real Estate Diallo, or on TikTok. I'm on all social media platforms. And then another thing is, guys, you have to be, listen, just take action. Right? I promise you this real estate wholesaling thing works. If you don't think it works, then it doesn't work. Whatever you believe is great. The reality is, this is public data. I've spent my whole life in Europe, 17 years of my life. You cannot do this game in Europe. Go out here and find the ugly house, whether that be you driving, you biking, whatever, and then you just put that on the contract and sell that contract for a fee. Doesn't exist anywhere. I'm telling you guys, the data is public. The data is public. The data is public. The data is public. There's no excuses other than you being lazy and you don't want to do the work, right? So, and remember to check out this podcast, the Boom Effect podcast, every single Monday at what time? 6:30 p.m.
6:30 p.m.
We're on Spotify. We're on YouTube. The Boom here, guys, stands for being bold and brave, being obsessed, being optimistic, and having that abundance mindset. We're the Boom Squad live here in Georgia. And guys, check out this book. It's called The Wealth Without Cash. This is probably one of the biggest real estate investors here in the United States. And he talks about me in this book in chapter, I think is 2. Let me see which chapter. It's chapter 217. Check it out and see why I ended up in one of the. He wrote this for Bigger Pockets. This is by Pace Morby himself, and my brother Pace is talking about me here, and this will teach you about value, right? How do you become valuable into the marketplace? So I've joined, obviously, his community. That's where I learned creative finance. Shout out to Pace Morby. But when I joined the community, I got value, and then I added value back, right? So I quickly became a leader by also teaching the newbies that are newer than me. And then I started doing a lot of joint venture deals with newbies, because I'll jump on a 3-way with them, help them close their sellers. I'll help them structure deals, right? Help them get their first deals. I've helped dozens and dozens and dozens of newbies close their first deal, which is how I met even Stephen Blow here himself, but now he became a business partner and he's part of my team. But guys, check the book out. I'm gonna put a link in the description below as well. It's Wealth Without Cash. It talks about creative finance deals, and then it shows you how we structure some of our deals. And guys, and it also shows you how you gotta add value to the marketplace to become valuable, right? So guys, we'll see you on the next episode every single Monday
at 6 p.m.
6:30
p.m.
6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And guys, remember, stay bold and be bold. Take the action. Remember, knowledge is not power. Implemented knowledge is power. We'll see you on the next one. Boom, boom.
Boom.
We out.